Hey, pokedad fan club, it's me, pokedad, and today we're doing another deck profile from Fates Collide. I am going to get back into the spring regionals preparation videos, but with Fates Collide coming out, I had to get some of these archetypes done. So today we're looking at Mega Altaria, and I'm actually going to show you two variants. There's about 8 cards difference between the two variants, so it's not too big of a difference. I'll just show you the 8 different cards at the end of the video. But anyway, so let's get right into this. We start off with Altaria EX, and it's not a great EX. It's got 170 HP. It's a colorless type. It's weak to lightning and resistant to fighting. And then, of course, Mega Altaria goes to Fairy, so it changes its typing and its weakness and resistance. But this can still be used as an attacker, especially now that I imagine Jolteon EX and Glaceon EX will be teaming up, and you'll need to have both evolved attackers and non-evolved attackers like basic. So with Glaceon in there, we may actually need to use Altaria EX, but that also possibly gives us weakness to Jolteon, so we want to be careful there. We'll talk about how we're going to deal with that a little bit later. Altaria's first attack is called Powerful Gale. It does 30 damage, but if this Pokemon was healed this turn, it does an additional 60 damage for just a double colorless, and then it also heals another 30 from it. So this deck is based around healing. We'll talk about that a lot. And then also it has Shining Wind, which is very similar to Mega Gardevoir, or I should say Gardevoir EX's attack. For 3 fairy, it does 100 damage, and then you remove weakness. In this case, for 3 colorless, you do 80 and then remove weakness. Now, Altaria EX probably will not be used as much because we're really trying to get into Mega Altaria. And Mega Altaria, like I said, is a fairy type, 220 HP, has an attack called, I'm sorry, Mist Purge here. For a fairy and a double colorless, it does 100 damage. However, if if you have any special energy attached to this Pokemon, then it does an additional 30 damage, and it heals 30 to every single one of your Pokemon. So that, like I said, this is a very healing deck. We're going to be taking 2-hit KOs with 130 damage. We can pretty much 2-hit KO everything in the format, including Wailord, as long as he doesn't heal himself. And so this is going to be our main attacker here, and we're really going to take a lot of damage, and then we're going to try to heal it off, and I'll show you how we do that in a little bit. We also play a 2-2 line of Zorua and Zoroark for a couple reasons. Instead of playing Fairy Garden in this variant, I play a different stadium, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But Zoroark does a couple things for us. He helps us against Safeguard, which now with Carbink back in the deck, with Carbink having Safeguard, Zoroark can kind of take care of that. And then also it gives us free retreat between our Mega Altaria, so we can keep using them to heal each other off and kind of preserve them for a little bit. So it also gives us a strong attacker against something like a Mega Rayquaza deck or something like that, where Mega Altaria can't necessarily one-shot anything. Zoroark could come in and take a one-shot on a Mega Rayquaza if they decided that they wanted to put 8 Pokemon on their bench. So Zoroark with Mind Jack can do 10 damage plus 30 damage for every Pokemon on your opponent's bench. Alright, we do play, I play one Diancie EX, and I know Diancie's not getting any love. It's really probably one of the poorest EXs from the Fates Collide set. However, in this deck it actually makes a little bit of sense. It does have an ability that basically prevents 30 damage to all of your Pokemon, including Diancie, as long as Diancie is in the active. So even though it's only 150 HP Pokemon, it's going to reduce damage by 30, so it would still need 180 to one-shot it. And you know, it's possible you could play like Fighting Fury Belt, or you could play Assault Vest. We don't play either of those in this deck because that's Diance's not the main attacker of this deck. Um, but I felt like we needed another attacker just in case we do come against uh, the Glaceon, because we have to use some kind of basic to hurt Glaceon. And with Altaria being possibly weak to Jolteon, it just made sense to let Diancie come in and hit the Glaceon. This could easily be changed out for a Xerneas EX, but we don't play a lot of energy in this deck. And we're not playing Aromatisse in this deck. So it just makes sense that with what we're using, just fairy and double colorless energy, Diancie kind of fits the bill a little bit better. Now, Diancie's attack is called Wonder Stage, and it does 60 damage, but if there's a stadium in play, then it does an additional 50. So it can hit it for 110 damage, and that's two-shotting, again, most everything in the format. So that's why I like Diancie in this deck. And plus, it may not ever see its way in any other deck, so I figured I'd give it a shot. We are playing a couple other supporter Pokemon. We're playing one Hoopa EX. Scoundrel Ring lets us search for 3 EXs and put them in our hand. And then we're playing 2 Shaman for setup, draw power, etc., etc. If you've seen any of my videos, you know I use Shaman a lot. And that is our Pokemon lineup. So we'll move right along now, and we'll get into our supporters next. We actually play a pretty heavy line of supporters in this deck. We're only playing 3 Sycamores. Normally I would play 4, but with Shaman and some of the other draw supporters that we're using here, I only need 3 in this deck. So Sycamore allows us to discard a hand and draw 7. Alright, we're also playing 3 N. N has come back into the format, and he is probably just the second best supporter card there ever has been, besides Sycamore and Juniper. And I guess we're going to say farewell to Birch and Shauna for the most part. N is just too good not to play, so we'll play 3 Ns in this deck also. We do play one other draw supporter, and this is also new from Fates Collide, and a lot of people have been down on this card, but in my play testing, I think this is going to be actually the next Colress. We're going to play one of Lass's Special. Yep, I like it a lot. It's been really good in my play testing. Lass's Special allows us to draw cards equal to the number of Pokemon on our opponent's bench. So if he has 5 on his bench, we get to play Lass's Special and we get to draw 5. Now, notice with Colress, we have to shuffle our hand and then draw what's on both benches. But with Lass's Special, we can we can play our hand down, then set up with Shaman, draw 6, then we can Lass's Special. And if they have a bench full of 5, we can get another 5 cards. So we can see potentially 11, 12 cards in one turn if you combine this with Shaman. Now, in my playtesting, this has been really good because there's some times where you have a lot of cards in your hand that you don't necessarily want to shuffle back in with an N, and you don't necessarily want to, obviously, you don't want to Sycamore them away. So Lass's Special lets you keep those cards. Let's say, for instance, you have an Altaria EX and you're searching for the Spirit Link. You can end, then you're going to put the Altaria back in, or you can Sycamore, you're going to discard the Altaria, or you can Lass's Special, draw 5 more cards if your opponent has them on the bench, and you might get into that Spirit Link, or you might get into a Trainer's Mail that'll get you into the Spirit Link. So Lass's Special, just for my play testing so far, has been pretty good, and I'm going to recommend you play test it. The only thing is it's kind of like Colress, where you're not going to put probably more than one of in there, because you don't want to get stuck with it at the beginning of the game and your opponent have no bench. So again, I'd probably just put one of it in maybe 2 if you're feeling really brave, but I think it's going to be a decent draw support. All right, now we're going to talk. We're playing a lot of one-ofs in this deck. We're also playing our battle compressors and VS Seekers, so it's okay if we play. We've got 5 one-ofs. We're playing Skyla. Skyla, in a deck like this, I just feel like it's very useful. Help us get a stadium that we need. Help us to get a Spirit Link. Help us to get an Ultra Ball, so if we have a dead hand, it can become a draw supporter by helping us get Hoopa or Shaman. So it can be a very useful card at the beginning of the game or at the end game, and it's just adds flexibility to our deck. It's not as powerful of draw like maybe In or Sycamore would be, but it still gives us a lot of added flexibility. Playing 1 Lysander, you know how I usually love to play 2, but this deck has so much crammed in it that we're just playing the one of. Um, Lysander wins games. You pull up one of your opponent's Pokemon and knock it out. Especially since we're doing 2-hit KOs, so we need to be able to pull those up. 1 Hex Maniac. We do have some abilities that we just want to shut down. Maybe we're going against Greninja or something like that. So Hex Maniac will shut those abilities down for us. And then we also play 1 Pokemon Center Lady. We are a healing deck, and so Pokemon Center Lady can allow us to use our fairy drops and use this and take off massive amounts of damage in 1 turn. And then we play 1 Zero Sick. I've just become to use Zero Sick as a staple. We're not really ability based. We do have Zoroark, which helps us get in to retreat and stuff like that. So if we come against Garbodor, it can be useful. Also, it helps against head ringers, or if we want to just annoy our opponent and take one of their Spirit Links off, or a Fighting Fury Belt will help knock something out potentially. We can do that with 0-6. So we play 1 of those. And that is our supporter line for this deck. All right, we'll get into item cards. The first one is just going to be 4 VS Seekers to help us reuse our supporters. You know, it's pretty obvious we want to reuse our supporters as much as possible. So playing 4 VS Seekers allows us to reuse those. 4 Ultra Balls so we can hit Hoopa, Shaman, or get out whatever we need. Hoopa should get most of our Altarias and our maybe even a Mega Altaria. And then potentially a Shaman, so that can be good for us. All right, we'll play 3 Trainer's Mails. I'd like to fit a 4th one in, but we can't. Trainer's Mail is just a really good consistency card, allowing us to search our deck, the top 4 cards of our deck, and grab a trainer card other than Trainer's Mail from the top of the deck. But since we have Skyla, that's kind of like our 4th one. So we'll just play 3 of those. We're playing 2 battle compressors. Since we are playing Mega Altaria, we can use Mega Turbo to actually charge it up in 1 turn. So it makes sense to battle compress an energy or 2 in there. Also, we can compress the supporters that we just have 1 of that we may not need for a particular match. And we can get them into the discard pile for VS Seeker. Also, we're playing 4 Fairy Drop. All right. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking Max Potion could be good. We could use Aromatisse Engine and do Max Potion. But because Mega Altaria requires special energy to do the extra damage on the attack, we really can't Max Potion because we can't move the double colorless. You might say, well, why don't you play Rainbow Energy or the Fairy Wonder Energy? The problem is then now we're looking from a 2-turn, playing 2-turn attachment, 2 attachments. Now we have to play 3 attachments, and it just works better if we can get Mega Altaria going in 2 attachments. So with Fairy Drop, it heals 50 damage to any Pokemon that has Fairy Energy on it. So this is going to help us heal up our Mega Altarias, and then go from there. All right, we play 2 Mega Turbos. Again, the first Altaria is going to probably take 2 turns to get going anyway, but the second and third ones can be a little bit easier for us. So we can use the Mega Turbo to get them charged up in case we need them. And we do want to eventually, because we're a healing deck, we want to kind of be switching between Altarias so that we can kind of they can heal each other. Obviously, we got to play 3 Spirit Links for Mega Altaria um, because we're playing a 3/3 line of Altaria, Mega Altaria. We're also playing 2 Float Stones. We can add those onto the Zoroark, and then we get the free stand-in and retreat. And then as far as stadiums, we're not playing Fairy Garden. We're actually playing Parallel City. Couple reasons for this. The first thing is we can use this to help against the Mega Rayquaza matchup or the Raichu Bats matchup, stuff that requires a big bench. We can reduce them down to 3. Also, it helps against Vespiquen and Toad, reducing those damages a little bit. And then finally, we can actually use lower our bench down to 3, so we can get our Shamans off the board or our Hoopa off the board, and so that they can't Lysander those up and take them out for a quick knockout. And so that is our items and our stadium. So we'll move right along and we'll just get into energy. And then I'll quickly tell you about the other variant of this that you could play. I'm going to try play testing both of them. I think they both have their pros and cons. But anyway, we'll take a look at them. I'll show you the other idea I have with this deck in just a moment. But first, let's get to the energies. As far as energies, we're just playing 8 energies is all. Diancie only needs a 2 attachment. Zoroark only needs a 1 attachment of a DCE. And Mega Altaria only needs 2 attachments. So we play 4 DCEs and 4 Fairy Energies. So we're just playing 8 energies is all. And then we're just going from there. This deck actually sets up pretty good from the little bit of playtesting I've done so far. But anyway, let's look at the other possible variant. This variant I haven't tested yet, but in some ways I think it might be better. There's definitely cons to it. So let's talk about the 8 cards that we're going to take out of this deck. We're going to take the 2/2 line of Zoroark out. We're going to take the 2 Float Stones out. And we're going to take the 2 stadiums, Parallel City, out. All right. And we're going to replace that with 8 different cards. The first one we're going to replace the stadium with 3 Fairy Gardens. All right. Instead of the 2 Parallel Cities. We're going to add a new supporter in Olympia. We could have done 4 Fairy Gardens, but I actually think I like playing the 1 Olympia and use that kind of as a Fairy Garden, because when we take out the Zoroark line, we still have to find a way to retreat our Pokemon, and so Fairy Garden allows us. But then Olympia also is a switch and a potion put together. You switch your active, bring up one of your bench, and then you heal 30 to that active. So Olympia could be useful because we could combine that with 30 from Olympia, and then maybe a fairy drop to reduce that one that just came to the bench another 50. So now we've healed to 80, and then with the new Mega Altaria attacking, reducing the healing everything by 30 also, we can heal easily for 110 damage on 1 turn, and then putting that original Mega Altaria back into range where it's not going to be easily one shot. So I like that. And then the other 4 cards would be Puzzle of Time. So we'd play 4 Puzzles of Time. The reason I like this is because you can then respam Fairy Garden. Well, you can respam Fairy Garden, but you can also respam let's see, fairy drop. That's what I'm looking for. Fairy drop. And then you can also use it for Ultra Balls and getting back energy, especially DCEs and even Mega Turbos if you needed it. So that's why I prefer to do that. Yeah, this third one is a shadow circle because my other fairy gardens are in another deck. So anyway, but I would use 3 fairy gardens there. Anyway, guys, so that's the second variant. I haven't tested this one yet, but I have a feeling this one could do well. The only thing is you need to realize is that now you're going to have to use Hex Maniac to take out Carbink if there's a safeguarder in play. And you might actually want to up your Hex Maniac count to 2, so you need to take something else out if you do that. But anyway, guys, that's just my thoughts on this deck. I like fairies, and I think Mega Altaria will do pretty decent, but I know everybody's kind of down on it. But at the same time, I really think it might be better than you think. So give it a try. Tell me how your playtesting comes out. In the comments, ask any questions that you might have. And then hit like, give me a thumbs up. Trying to get 20 thumbs up on this video, so please help out with that. Also, check out Team Rogue Dogs, our Facebook page. And then finally, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. We value each and every one of you. Until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye.